Good evening again, everyone. Welcome to BAPMC's April Meetup. We are so pleased to have today a dynamic speaker, a distinguished Toastmaster in our midst, Mr. K'Ron Lightbourne. K'Ron is a dynamic operations and supply chain specialist with over 15 years of experience leading transformative projects across multiple industries. He holds a bachelor's in business administration and management along with certifications as a master project manager, certified international project manager, certified project risk manager, and OSHA. Additionally, he is certified as a Six Sigma Yellow Belt and a certified Scrum Master. Throughout his career, he has consistently delivered exceptional results by driving efficiency, reducing cost, wastage, and improving the overall team performance. His ability to align operational strategies with organizational goals has made him a sought out partner for companies looking to optimize their processes and achieve sustainable growth. K'Ron is also deeply engaged in his community. He plays an active role in organizations like Rotary and Toastmasters, where he is a distinguished Toastmaster. He also mentors individuals and provides guidance on public speaking. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Mr. K'Ron Lightbourne.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much to the Bahamas Agile and Project Management community for allowing me to be here in your midst this evening. And as stated, this evening I will be speaking on unleashing your team's potential. However, I just wanted to take the time to ask, what was the first team that you were ever a part of? You could put it in your chat. You could just voice it out. I want you to know this is a conversation. It's not going to just be stick on board or chalk on board or however you want to call it. But what, okay, your family. Okay. Anyone else? There you go. So pretty much when you think of the first team that you were ever part of, sports team, okay. You don't mind, Sam, what sports was that?
Family. The first one that I thought of was I was part of a badminton team.
Okay. I played badminton just for a little bit, but I realized that my left hand and my right hand didn't want to work together when my feet move. So I wasn't too well in that, right? So when we think about it, one of the first teams that you pretty much would have been a part of was family, right? And I think about my stepfather when it comes to what it took to actually lead a household. Think of it that the person who you are when you sit in front of the mirror is a culmination of all of the experiences that you have went through, the good or the bad. But in addition to that, it would have also played a part is what leadership or family or however it came towards you was modeled at your home. So stand by me. So it would, as I said, it would be modeled at your home. So I had a stepfather who, he grew me up from when I was young. Well, he was all I actually knew. And when I think about where I am and what I think about leadership, when I think about team, trust, believe it or not, he was one of the first agilists. I said it right? Because, I'm one of those. There you go. Give me kudos, right? So he was the first agilist because even though he may have not had the actual credential, when we needed things done, he would always break it down, right? So when we were looking at doing a pot of soup, everybody had a certain responsibility. They did their sprint, which led to the overall soup being created. Beautiful work. But one thing that really got us to understand why we did what it is that he needed us to do was trust. And we trust that what he told us to do was the right thing. not because we just grew up with him or that he was an adult and we were just kids, but also we understood what it is that he was doing, and because of the processes that he took us through life. So it took some time, and I want us to think of those or the relationships that we have. What did it take, or what did you go through before you could actually say that I trust this person, or this person, or someone who says to you that they trust you? So as I said, this is a conversation. I will have my chat open. So please, if you have any questions, just feel free to chime in. And and I'll and I'll make sure I answer your questions. So our session goal is to empower Agile professionals with mindset and tools too. But as stated, when we look at what we're going to go through, we're going to look through it through the lens of life. I look at Agile. I'm sorry if I sound very what the word is, if I sound biased, but Agile for me is a whole has a concept. Well, two of the main core values that I really resonate with. One, which is we look at people over processes. That's one of my favorite. And the next one is when it comes to adaptability over following just instructions, right? Or just following the plan, because we understand that things change all the time. As simple as today, I want you to think of that one thing that happened today that you had not planned for. Think of it. You know what? Put it in the chat. Let us know. Let us know what is the one thing that you probably didn't plan. Okay, there you go. Heavy rain.
I could share, K'Ron.
Yes, please.
I did not plan that when I came home, a few minutes later, my son would have arrived and left his baby here.
Oh.
So I didn't expect to have my grandson over this evening. That was totally unexpected.
Oh, what a beautiful time in the neighborhood. I tell you, what a beautiful time. And then hey, you have Wendy, or Wendy's system. There you go. Couldn't get breakfast. So these things happen all the time. So if you have now a person, if you think about the agile mind, this is what we are. It's almost like we prepare for that Murphy's law, anything that go wrong. So we have what we'll be doing this session. We're looking at building trust, and you'll see that I have 3 C's to the bottom. So there are different pillars that Agile follows, but these are my favorite 3, the 3 that I do most of my trainings on, outside of even the Agile framework. When I have my different clients that we're discussing what it is now to build impactful teams. So build trust, where we look at communication; empower teams, where we have collaboration; and deliver exceptional results, which is commitment. So before you type it in, I don't want you to do this yet. I want you to think of one word that is the key to a high performing team. I want you to type it, but don't press send as yet. Think of one word. What is the key to a high performing team? Let me type mine in also. Don't send it yet, and I'll tell you when to send it. I give you about 7 seconds. 5 seconds, 1 second. All right, now send it. There you go. So we have consistency, communication is a regular key, safety, and trust. And when we look at it, if you was to look at it, each one of these has a very pivotal role when it comes to now creating a high performing team, because everything rises and falls on communication. Communication is all conflicts happen because of lack of communication. Communication allows persons to feel safe within the environment of the team. And also, when you are consistent with your communication, because one thing we don't like is, and I don't know if you've experienced it, I presently go through it in a different setting where I have someone that will tell me one thing in my face, and then when we go in the next room, I'm like sitting there like jaw drop, and I'm like, where did this happen? When did this take place? So there's no consistency with, even, I don't want to say consistency with truth, but just not consistency with the information. I want to just put it that way. And these things are, as I say, it's very pivotal when it comes to high performing teams, because if you don't feel safe to communicate, if you don't feel safe to speak, if you don't feel safe that when you're actually speaking, that the person who's listening is listening correctly or effectively, then most times what do? Shut up. We have nothing to say. But if everybody is important, if everyone has a responsibility, and one person now doesn't feel comfortable to move forward with their actions, then what happens? So there can be and that is true. You have over communication, and believe it or not, because it has its settings, right? It really has its settings when it comes to over communication. In certain meetings, like we've all had that one time when we were like, hey, this could have been an email. Better yet, you could have sent this on WhatsApp. We could have discussed this on WhatsApp, right? Say verbal. I like that one, right? I like that one really. And these are the things that just takes place. And sometimes people over communicate because they just don't know. They don't have a good way to articulate what it is that they want to say. So they have to beat around the bush. I had a client who was a human resource director, and what she would do is that a 5-minute meeting would turn into a 30-minute meeting. And I sat down with her to figure out exactly what was it that either was happening or wasn't happening. And I come to find out that she experienced the same point 5 different ways. But all she does is changes the placement of the words, but the message is still the same. And persons they zone out. So it went from now them being engaged to everything that is being said, to they are just waiting for her to say, well, that's enough, meeting over. What's the impact there, right? Actually, there is no impact at all. So we have the flywheel model. Say the horse is dead. So we have the flywheel model, and this is a model that I like to use. I encompass it, especially with my teams from line staff up to middle management, whereas trust, empowerment, results equals now more trust, because this right here is a continuous cycle. The thing about it too is that how do we get to trust, right? When you first go into, especially if you look from a company standpoint, a team standpoint, first time you go in, chances are there's not much persons there you've never met them before, brand new, and you have so much different backgrounds, so much different upbringings. So one person could say, would be able to say one word, and that one word now has so much different translations. Somebody might start crying because it's a word that triggers a bad past, or someone starts crying because it's a word that triggers a funny joke that they may have heard. But even though it has their different meanings, when someone said the word, they had their own interpretation of what that word is. So is now, how do you get to that trust? Empowerment, results are all well and good, but tell me, can you feel empowered if you don't trust the person that is empowering you? Chances are no. Studies have shown that if if all of us who are in here now, Andrea was our boss, right? Well, technically, right? So Andrea is our boss. She's the chief agilist, and Kenny is second in line. Just given a synopsis. If Ken, no matter how much Kenny tries now to impact the team, if Andrea does not support that, if the persons below does not trust, or even Kenny does not trust the decisions or the communication or anything that Andrea comes out with, there's going to always be this level of fear. This fear now is going to have persons in a perception, in an environment where they don't know if what she's doing is setting her up. Ah, well, there you go. Well, maybe there's an opportunity for promotion. Hey, right, right? But right, exactly, and that's what it is. Persons now, they fear, they hesitate, and they hesitate not only to be to contribute, but their hesitation, which is more detrimental, comes where they now want to give more of themselves, because they find themselves, I know at one point in time we went through what they call quiet quitting, where persons weren't leaving, but when they were there, they reduced the percentage of the work or the productivity that they were giving out. And right now, a lot of that is taking place, even though everything is saying that it's booming. A lot of times, there's not a lot of places that are hiring just quick like that. So persons are just sitting there and they're just waiting their turn. But now someone is still being impacted, which is on the end result, the customer, whether that's internal or external. So one thing we want to try to do is, as we understand what it takes to grow trust, we want to reinforce and refine the cycle regularly when it comes to now making sure that persons they feel that they can trust all of those above them, because most persons, the bosses, they don't mind the persons to the bottom if they could trust them or not, because in their mindset, and I'm sorry to say it like this, especially in this climate, which I've seen, is that the line staff, they already prepared for them to cycle through them on a high basis, especially with a lot of these a lot of like the warehouse jobs and the cleaning, security, these type of level jobs, or this is what they're already expecting. So communication, the power of trust. And as stated, without, you have fear, you have blame, and you have silos, right? If persons must always understand that trust is the foundation of high performing teams. Without it, nothing. I'm telling you, you're even if you feel you're getting what you should be getting, you're not getting anywhere near what should be happening. Because persons now, when they come to work, they're not coming to work that they own it. They are just coming to work just for that salary. When they come to your team, that's what it is. Even in families, if you look at it, in families of persons now, well, you always have a cousin that don't trust this cousin, or one aunt that doesn't trust the next aunt, or, well, you know how the family line gossip go, right? No matter which collective of persons, no matter which team you talk about, they have these struggles. So without it, that's where as you say, is the fear, the blame game, the silos. I have an environment that I've been in that the only way that persons actually got any type of recognition was they had to throw somebody else under the bus. The minute now that concept of change, and we created it into a performance-based environment, persons no longer know how to survive. They no longer know what it took to be able to be seen as great. Now with it, what do we see? We see, with trust, we see collaboration, we see ownership, and we see innovation. Think about those, anyone who sits under you. I know, if you want a penny, call Kenny, right? If you have a clerk that is responsible for filing away the files properly, imagine that you're not the one doing the job. They are. Who better to tell you how to do the work more efficiently? Who able to tell you how to do not only more efficiently, but they're also able to tell you the best ways how we could get it done, shorter time, less pay, or we could even expand what the role looks like. It's the persons who do the job, but we don't look at them. Why? Chances are, someone come from Bean Town the first time. And sorry, hey, hold on, before let me pause there for a second. I I was born in Rock Crusher. So for those who are not from the Bahamas, you have those. I think in foreign terms you call them rural. You call them rural areas, correct? Right. So you have those rural areas, those. Thank you. You could read the comment. Right. There it is, the ghetto, right? So, there you go. Inner city. I like that one. So, see, I said so politically correct. There you go. And I come from Rock Russia. So you have persons now, because they came from a certain demographic, they're already judged in a certain type of way. Sexually, love that. Right? So they're already judged in a certain type of way. And when you now, and what we don't do is we don't find ways now to include them or well, firstly, we don't find ways to understand them. You could imagine you ever had that staff that everything that they do, they immediately sound like they get hostile. They have to scream or they have to raise their voice. You ever had that? Like all you ask them is, "Hey, did you see any more cream in the fridge?" And it's like, "What? What you talking about? Cream? Why are you asking me for cream? I have no cream. I don't use no cream." But one thing that we don't do is we don't really take the time to find out from them or to learn who they are, because believe it or not, that might just be their background. That they come from, oh sorry, evaporated milk. I so loving this, right? Right, but that's what it is. They come with that type of they come with that type of view. See, and with these now, this is where persons now have what they call they have, and within their own mind, they might not have a checklist that they go tick 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 on a piece of paper, but in themselves they have a trust signal. They have what they call trust signals, because if you don't trust me, if you don't take the time to get to know these persons in your team, then you wouldn't understand how they operate. You have persons where you want to send a communication, you do the WhatsApp groups. WhatsApp groups might not work for everybody. Some persons, like I call them my younger people, but I really mean them my more seasoned people. They prefer for you to call them, dial the phone, call them, send an email, something of that nature, but they might not do WhatsApp well. So when we look at it, we do have, and this is why everyone has their own internal trust signals, right? And in this, and they have a checklist with it, which we'll go through later. But this is what I have for effective communication for teams. So clarify the vision early and often. And when I say teams, I'm talking about any grouping of you. Even when you go to trainings, you'll notice speakers, they'll tell you what are we here for? This is what the vision is. This is what it's about. Then you have used the right channels for the right messages. So this is where I spoke about, different times, you have group chats, you have emails, but sometimes it's better for calls. Like Andrea stated, you're tired of the black box. So what you want to do, you prefer in person. And your team may just prefer in person too. They might be tired of just sitting behind a screen. It's nothing like when someone is speaking, you're sitting at the table and you're able to tap the neighbor on the side of you and you all have an internal joke. Or where you get to, well, I don't want to say throw a little bit of shade, but you could throw a gel here or there. These things now are important for that. And encourage two-way communication. The one thing that I see that we struggle with the most is asking persons to share ideas, but truly you want to hear what they have to say. It's almost like the most famous question that I ever heard, when it is, "Hey, how are you doing?" When you asked that question, you really didn't care how that person was doing. You only asked it because you wanted to seem nice and cordial. And the minute if that person was to say, well, today, you'd be like, you know what? Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry to hear that, but why? I didn't really want all of that. But this is where we really need to, have a two-way communication. There's no when we look at agile, even though you have the scrum master, you have all of the different persons who contribute. When it's time now to give your feedback, everybody's on it's just about on the same playing field. Everyone gets to now share exactly what it is that they went through so that we could figure out what's the best way now moving forward. Geez, say walk away. See, that's why I don't ask any and everybody, right? So tell me, what helps your team to communicate better? Tell me. Okay, I think I on your team. Listen, nothing like breaking bread over hey, nothing like breaking bread, especially you want to get me out. Get me to one of my favorite places. Jokes, okay. And that's the thing, even when we know that humor is one of the best ways to always break tension. The thing what I find so dynamic about it is that depending on what persons are going through, like some persons either could get offended extremely quickly, and I try to understand that, but at the same time they would laugh, but under their breath they're feeling some type of way. But yes, light-hearted atmospheres, they really do get them chatting where they feel as if they're a part. Basically, they feel that they're a part of what's going on. They're not. I like that empathy. Yes, yes, and empathy is one of those strong skills because not everybody have empathy. You'd think so, but not everybody has it. That's one challenge too. Active listening, genuine concern. And I like the active listening and the genuine concern, especially as I say, when it comes now to your teams and feeling valued. Gabriel, I hope I said it. I said your name correctly. Having a conversation with one of the managers who sit under me, we were discussing some of the challenges in one of our clients. And would you believe that what we came up with, which blew our mind, was that they our clients were unable to help people or to show people value or to have people feel valued because they were not able to identify value. That's crazy, eh? You could come, and if your responsibility is to tape up a box, okay, you just tape a box. We could always find someone to tape a box. Matter of fact, I pay you to tape a box. So what's the big thing? Not realizing that you come to work every day, you show up to work on time. You know what? If you see concerns, you voice them. You know how to take criticism, and better yet, you try to offer ways to help the organization by either cost effective or cost cutting ways, or better yet, just things that you see that you feel that if they were to think about it, it could help. But persons, that is one of the bigger issues. Even in sometimes in our relationships, from time to time, persons feel taken for granted, especially parents. I'm sorry, you know what, I gotta throw this in there. I have a 7-year-old and I have a 15-year-old, and from time to time, it's almost like it's expected you do certain things, so there's no longer, I mean, I'm trying to teach them this now, the purpose of value. Oh yeah, like exactly like the bit. Right? So I try to show them, and I try to teach them that certain things, even though you could expect it, it doesn't mean that it's always going to be there. So appreciate it, value those that help you along the way, because like you said, like as I say, it's entitlement. It goes first from gratitude. The first time they ask you and you supply them with it, it's gratitude, and then it goes from gratitude, and that gratitude just slowly drifts into entitlement. Don't let it be one of those times where you offer instead of them asking. Then from there on, it's theirs. And if at any point in time you choose not to give it to them and they know you have it, big problem. So
K'Ron, let's put a pin in that one because I feel like you're doing some family therapy counseling right now, and I just need a couch to lie on because you speak in my language right now.
I'm telling you, and just going through it. I have a sick household right now, and normally the thing, so I'm taking on what we consider, because we don't have like gender-based roles, right? But we have roles that mommy responsible for, daddy responsible for. So I'm doing both. So now my son is running to me to the door, and he's like, "Where's my orange?" Not, "Daddy, do you have any orange? Can I have orange?" Just, "Hey, hey, 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 what you doing? Where's my orange?" You should be doing nothing else but making sure I get my orange. Where's my orange? I can't watch TV without it. But nevertheless, I understand what you're talking about. And believe it or not, we even have staff. We have staffing, we have different groupings that you have that one person, same way. You allow them when they come to you and they have a gripe or a grievance, you try your best to resolve it. And what ends up happening, they, after a while, if it gets to a point where you say to them, "Oh, thank you, Dash," if you say to them that, "Oh, well, I'm not able to provide it this time," then it's like, "Oh, you never do nothing for me, you all don't check for me." So, and believe it or not, these things, and we'll get to how do we get over those things, but these things, they just happen. So collaboration, which is the second C, empowerment and action from delegation to ownership. Empowerment is not micro delegation, and it's trusting people to lead in their space. And when we say lead, we don't mean just a manager or supervisor. We talk about persons who are giving a role. Allow them. They make one mistake and you down their throat. But when it's you hoping now for grace. You want to be able to now, coach them through these things, coach them through these times. And this is now all of this is movement up to trust. Empowerment thrives when teams co-create solutions. It has to be a two-way communication. So I'm just going to read the higher level. So inclusive and dynamic leadership. So we want to create space for every voice. Inclusion starts with the intentional listening, like the active listening. You speak about that genuine concern. Match your leadership style to the moment. Dynamic leaders shift gears, not standards. So you'll notice that a lot of these tie to the same agile core values. Because why is it that if right now on a scale of 1 to 10, let's say the environment is only at a 2, which is a little peaceful, why are you at a 10? Why are you there? Like, allow it to match the moment. If you need to speed it, if you need to now add intensity, then add intensity as needed. But even that you have to be very careful for, and recognize strengths and celebrate wins. But we ourselves, when it says people rise when they feel seen, we ourselves as people, we don't even celebrate our own wins. So it's very difficult to help to recognize a strength and celebrate someone else's wins. Tell me, you probably had a goal, you created your milestones, and because we are ever wanting people, what do? We just move on to the next thing. Move on to the next thing. You 10 steps further, you 10 steps forward, you never took the time to celebrate your first step. But what the thing is this is something that we've grown into, because remember when the baby first stood up? When the baby first stood up, what do we do? "Oh man, you're such a good baby. Oh my gosh, you're a beautiful baby. You stand up, oh my Gucci goo," and all that stuff. And then they take the first step, and then it's like, oh my gosh, the first step, we videotape this, we do that, whatever. Okay. After that is when you get the first 3 point. We done skip now. We done skip one. We gone from one straight to about 9 or 10, right? So, and believe it or not, so Sam, we talking about people at work and kids. I'm telling you, it's the same thing. Like, I don't want to say it like, oh, we are children, but when you're talking about a team and you're now first entering a team, it's almost like a baby first coming into the world. It's brand new. So, like, they have to get used to you just like a child gets used to the parents. Now the persons have to get used to the persons around them. They got to get used to the environment. They're looking for all of the same things. They're looking, especially, and I don't want to sound wrong, the generation now, they need two things. They need constant gratification, and they require constant feedback, because they challenging you anyway. So those two things are required. So that's why I bring it to, when it comes to dealing with family, dealing with teams, it's this, believe it or not, when you look at it, it's the same thing. So we have empowerment audit. This way you ask yourself, decisions, what can I hand over? Where you want to, where can I give full trust to, some of the activities that have to take place? Boundaries, what needs to be clear, or what's non-negotiable versus what's flexible. What must be true for success. And recognition, how do I celebrate initiative, right? Because one thing that, where you spoke about value, how do I make them feel trusted and valued? But we have to be able to understand what it takes to give these persons grace. We don't know the backgrounds that they come from. I deal with I mentor a lot of young men right now who came from broken households, right? Where they knew, or where they feel, hey, no one really cared for me. So now that you're trying to show me this care, I don't even know how to accept it. A lot of persons just don't know how to accept. They don't know how to accept the things that we think are basic, right? Exactly. But it's the boundaries. You want to make sure that they're clear. You want to give them, and that's where it spoke about, you want to give them the opportunity to lead in their space. Because leadership, I know there's always what comes first, the chicken or the egg. There's leaders born, or leaders created or made, right? But let's look at it. When a child is born with a blank slate, right? What do? They emulate the environment around them. That's what they do. So, I mean, I leave that there. I'm not going to go into that spiel, but that's how I see things. And that's why it's so important when especially when you're empowering, you have to meet them where they are. So where it says from, I let them help, to I'll trust them to lead. And then you're just there. You're there just like the parent who's going to be there when they have that first fall. You're going to be there to say, hey, you know what? Dust yourself off. It's okay. You're going to be all right. If you have to shed a tear. That's okay. Feel that emotion. But I'm not going to stop you from trying to walk again. And this is what we do. Conflict resolution, and these are just some of the things, address issues early, not emotionally, deal with what's going on, right? Timely talk builds solution. Communications, as we speak about, because when there's silence, what they say, silence is acceptance. That's what they say. So you want to deal with it early. Focus on the problem, not the person, and reset with clarity and accountability. This is, for me, one thing that I want you to look at is conflict without a follow-up is just a conversation. We want to make sure that so if they fell down, you want to make sure that, hey, what went wrong? What could we do better? What's the timeline? And then we move on from there. You want to hold them accountable. All of this, believe it or not, even though it seems like we think of conflict as a bad thing, it helps to build trust, because now you get to be genuine. So there's the 7% rule. 7% is words, 38% is tone of voice, 55% is body language. So as a leader, how you say something is often more important than what you say. Your energy sets the tone. We've heard persons in good ways tell you, oh my gosh, you don't make no sense, but yet you walking away smiling because you thinking now, oh, they care so much about me compared to someone just saying, hey, you just garbage. How does that make you feel? You know, it's all in how we approach these situations. So commit, and then we have commitment, which is driving results. So clarity and accountability drives results. Clarity comes from the communication. The clarity comes also from how you collaborate with them when it comes to allowing them to lead in their own space. When you allow them, when you continue to allow them now to be able to learn and to grow, when you continue to develop them, that helps with clarity because they understand what's their purpose. Why am I here? And what am I doing? And then it's accountability driving results, right? The accountability is what just to make sure that, hey, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? So in Agile, we look at things like daily stand-ups and retrospectives, where you do this on a regular basis. And it's okay if the next person says, well, you know what, K'Ron, you did not do what you're supposed to do. If you had done what you're supposed to do, then this is the result you would have gotten. And then we find a way, how do we now move forward rather than just focusing on what the problem. And then, so a tool that there exists is a results alignment canvas, but it's something very similar. When you see it. So it's a results map, right? Where you start with the vision, the outcome. So for example, you might have an outcome of you would like to deliver a new customer onboarding process that improves satisfaction by 20%. And I just want you to know this is actually one of my clients' results map that we created for them. So key actions, what specific tasks or initiatives. So we had to conduct research interviews, redesign onboarding emails. Actually, we had to redesign the onboarding process and train support team on what the new workflow was. Responsible, who is responsible. So you have from even the person who's being onboarded, what their responsibilities are, the HR, the human resource personnel, and the manager who's taking over that new staff. All of those, they understood their roles. And how did we now, measure this criteria or measure success? Well, I'll probably give it away if persons understand what net promoter score is, an NPS. So we use that as a completion time, customer feedback, and then we gave a timeline. So this is just a results map that it helps to drive it, because one thing it is always stated is that whatever is measured is improved, right? So you only improve what is measured. And as I get ready to wrap up, I want you to know that as you go through your with your teams, there's a life cycle when it comes to emotional and behavioral journey. So this is an adaptation that I got from reading Brené Brown's Atlas of the Heart, right? Looking at the different emotions, the different steps, and you'll see even that it still followed the agile phase, right? So where you have ideation, you have direct or coach, because now that person, they're excited, but they're uncertain. Imagine now you have someone who's extremely excited, but they're uncertain on what they're going into. You know what I mean? But that, this is the time when brainstorming takes place, but they still seeking direction. So, you want to be a direct type of leadership, but you also want to coach them along. And then you have, as we go on to phase 2, which is it requires coaching. This is where they're still optimistic, but they still have a little bit of anxiety, and they're seeking reassurance, because they want to make sure that what they're doing is the right thing, because they're still brand new. It's like that person on probation. You have midway execution and problem solving. So this is where you want to support them. This is where you build their confidence, because, these challenges are going to show up, but you want to now support them. So they're tired, but now they're building confidence. They're starting to be able to have that independence. And independence doesn't mean working in a silo. It also means that they are able to take what it is that they're doing, try some things, but they still now feel good enough and confident enough and valuable enough that they can now make certain comments or statements, but also receive a certain level of feedback. And then they have the stress and the spikes. So you'll see also support direct in your phase 4 where there's little urgency because they're stressed out now. They're intensely focused because now they're really understanding in a better sense of what it is that is expected of them. And this is now where last minute issues, but they still have the confidence, but now they'll be able to address those last minute issues because you're coming to the ending part of the sprint. And then you have the delegate where you could, they feel a little more relief. They have pride. They're tired. They could reflect, but now this is where you delegate. So this was where I spoke about the trust signals checklist, some of the things you want to make sure, transparency. Added to that is our decisions explained clearly, even when they're tough. Consistency, do leaders model the behavior they expect from their team? Empathy, are we mindful of personal challenges and support each other? And this is where you spoke about empathy earlier. Accountability, are mistakes seen as learning opportunities and not punishable offenses? Then you have safety, is feedback welcome and acted upon constructively? Most persons here are Toastmasters, so they understand that one of the shining parts of Toastmasters is feedback. And that is one skill that you must learn in any organization, in any position, because you could lead without a title, where you're able now to provide feedback in a constructive way, but at the same time to be able to have feedback or to receive feedback and know how to work on it. And then recognition, are we acknowledging efforts even when the results are still developing? Because we like to reach the end line, but we are always wanting, always. So that means that goalposts stay moving. Stay moving. So when do we celebrate? When it's time to retire? I don't know. You gotta tell me. So I'd like just for you to share as we get ready to close, what is one thing that you think in your teams you can do to build trust? What is one thing that you think that you can do? Or even something that maybe your team does? Like for us, one of the things I've implemented that was never done is that every Tuesday we have what we call an open discussion. I have a team of 98 men that range from the ages of 18 to 56. And what we do every Tuesday is that we have an open forum where we do not speak about work. What we do is we just speak about anything else what's going on. Like, I don't know if you all are aware, what is something called Collide took place? Collide, I was in church, I know. But there's one thing. So they talked about that and I learned a lot of stuff from that. So it was very eye-opening and video sharing and all. It's very interesting, very interesting. But tell me, what is one thing that you do? Oh yeah, Kenny, you've been. I know you don't miss. Kenny, you don't miss nothing. I sure you've been, right?
Just heard about it.
So, but these are the things that we do. We do that, and then every morning we all comment. Or what we do is we have a certain shake. Like we have a certain type of shake hands that we do with every single member every day. So imagine that I shake hands. If 88 people show up to work that morning, I shake hands throughout that day though. I don't catch all that morning, right? But I shake their hands every single day. And I try to say, one word, or I always ask them how they're feeling or something of the sort. And over a period of time, they started doing it with each other. So now it's almost like there's like 15-20 minutes of the morning every morning that is just used for greetings and salutations. I probably can soon get in trouble for that. Yeah. So I want you to think about it, maybe share, think about one thing that you could do with your team. And it's just the small things. It's the very small things that we do, that we take for granted when it comes to now building trust. But it's a compilation. Everything that we discussed from the beginning to now, it's all part of building trust. Now, you're never going to always get it right. There are going to be some persons that are just fighting some inner challenges that even you creating the positive, electrified environment is not going to help. But when you look at what the majority is, or what the majority feels, then you'll know exactly, that it's being felt, and that trust is happening. Because trust takes place when someone could come to you and tell you, well, hey, I don't have nothing to eat, things tough, you know could you help me? When you see someone come and tell you that, then you know that something right is happening. But that's because they feel confident, and they feel confident in you. They feel safe, like we said earlier, and they know that your actions are consistent. Even when they mess up, you still the same way. So I try and do an icebreaker as we're 100% online, but not always easy. And something, okay, I feel the insight into life outside. They give. And that's the thing. And there you go right there. It's not always easy, but if you're consistent with it, it's almost like building a business. No problem, right? But it's almost like building a business. You have to once you stay consistent with it, even after a while, they're going to now be part of it. So even for online teams, I presently help a organization. Well, we don't speak certain things. Okay. Sorry, you raise your hand, Andrea.
No, I could have waited until you finish your response to Sam.
Okay. So I presently help an organization. I cannot call their name at this time, where I'm helping one of their areas, right? And one thing that I had to tell the chairman is that, you know, they're trying to figure out why is it that I'm not getting the kind of engagement that I would like to get, like the other chairmans are getting. And like I had to explain to them, you just have to stay consistent with it. First, you're gonna have some persons that are gonna tell you it doesn't make sense, or they're not interested, but that's okay. Even it's almost like what we do. We want to change. Correct. I like that one, Phil. Always assume positive intent, right? We want to change. Um, we want to always just keep changing things, and not that adapting and changing is a bad thing, but you have to at least you have to stay with it, and you have to continue to push it through. And then maybe too, some just ask them, you know what I mean? Just be upfront and ask them, listen, I'm trying to find other ways to engage, to be engaging, because I don't want this to just turn into a down, drawn out, or some type of event or activity where we just see him bored, or we just here. Because what happened, most persons turn off their camera and they go to the stove to cook. And what they do is they just turn it loud enough so if they hear their name, then they rush back. But other than that, they're not really too engaged with it. But a lot of persons, they need that too to be able to unwind. So I'll tell you, one, you ask them, do a poll, see what they like. Believe it or not, they have the answers. A lot of times we try to be that super person in a good way, but they have the answers. And then once you actually allow them to give you their answer, now you've just created a buy-in, right? And once you, because persons normally go with the majority, so once you have that buy-in, then persons are going to slowly, they're going to slowly just go with it, whatever it is that you all decide to do. So you had a hand up, Andrea.
Yes, I just wanted to comment to add to Sam's question a bit, because I work a lot with online teams. As an Agile practitioner, the majority of my project work is working with persons located all around the world. So one thing that I do to really try to build my team's trust is to show them that I genuinely care about them as a person, first and foremost. And I always would tell the owners, I don't manage people, I manage the work. So people really don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So I would always start my meetings and say, okay, tell me about what's going on with your family. How's your children doing? And they love the fact that you know their children's name, the name of their parents, their pets' names. You know, it's like being intentional but making a meaningful connection. It's not just about work. You can work anywhere, you can work with anyone, but people will be very supportive and they will work better if they feel as though they're working for someone who care about them and not just their contribution to the project. So I think that's first and foremost. And as an Agile practitioner, we always say, you know, people first, and individuals and interactions over processes and tools. And you have to live that. That's not something you just say and it's part of, you know, the Agile manifesto. You have to actually embody that and let that be part of your authentic, genuine self that you bring to the team, because people will really reciprocate. And I find that my projects go very well because people are excited to start the day because they want to say, I want to tell Andre what happened on the weekend. I want to tell them what happened with my kids. I want to share that, you know, they just excited just to take a few moments just to share what's going on in their personal lives before we really dive into the work. So not that we abandon the work, but people really want to know that you care about them. And I think in the virtual space, that interaction gets lost because we just want to hurry up, get things done. But we can't never lose sight of the fact that we're humans first and the work is secondary. So that works for me.
Yes, and very good point, very great points, and that's what it is. Because leadership now just really speaks about the people. It's all about the people, and that's and that's where it builds trust. So thank you very much for that. And so wrap up, and some might wrap up and just key takeaways. So clarity creates confidence. Communication is the glue. Just straightforward. Communication is the glue. Leadership must be both inclusive and adaptive. Plan smart, not just hard. Conflict is inevitable. Handle it constructively, and your success lives in the details. And like even just saying what Andrea stated, is the details of just knowing who it is that you're working with, on who's on the side of you. You know what I mean? Just sharing that, and then being able to regurgitate that when necessary. You know, hey, how are your daughters, or how's the dog, or you know, how is that project, you still reading that book? Is these little small things now that really brings it all together. And then once you do these things, now you would have created a community, and an environment of trust that they can't wait to come to work, or they can't wait to be in this environment, because now when you as the leader is doing it on a regular basis, everybody else will follow. I'm sure that you've all experienced, if it was not you, or maybe someone who would have or who would have been the leader of that area, that if the leader walks into the building and they walk into the building with no energy, all of a sudden the whole building just goes flat. They don't even have to see them. They don't even have to hear them. They just have to walk in, because we all work with energies. Because if the leader comes in and they're high up and they're energetic, then everybody is just tipping on it. So that is why it's so important. So I want to say thank you very much. I don't know if we have any questions. But I'll put something in the chat. I would like you to go to this link and, hey, hold on. Jeez. Okay. It's not allowing me to copy and paste, but I would like to go to this link so that if you could just leave me because I like to get better. So this is my form of a feedback. So if you could just take some time to fill out a survey for me. Other than that, do we have any questions at this time?
Kenny normally is the one who provides all of our questions, but I guess he's not.
I'm here. Give me a second. So
Okay.
first and foremost, great presentation, K'Ron. I really appreciate it. I was going to ask something in line to what you would have alluded to earlier in reference to communication. I know you mentioned something very small, based or some examples, and if you could just dive into that just a little bit more in other ways of, I guess, having that constant engagement with persons in your space or who you work with. So you would have mentioned things such as how you shake the guy's hands in the morning, or even persons at work, how you might engage them in conversation throughout the day. Anything else that you would recommend to kind of build that trust factor and to build that line of communication, knowing that it's in those moments, like when you, I find me personally, like when you build it in those moments, when you actually need it, it makes things a lot more easier to facilitate progress.
Sure. I'll tell you, especially with that, you would have when it comes to taking advantage of those moments, you have to be intentional, right? With those. So in my area, which is about 3 warehouses, for me to get to each one of those persons, I have to travel from building to building to be able to create that opportunity. Or just as simple as just when you're just walking the different hallways, it's almost like what you do with networking, right? Where you want to go up to that person, you want to find out exactly who they are, what they like, what are their interests. So these are the different ways. I know too where, well, I'll be honest with you, I'm a little iffy when it comes to sending certain emails. I always like to have those personal. I like to be interpersonal. But even as now, persons would have sent, or they would have placed their LinkedIn codes or their LinkedIn information inside the chat, I would copy those. And then when I copy those, I would then follow or just ask to connect, and then just see the things that interest them. And then if it's something that interests me, then I just take the time to follow up and ask a question. So believe it or not, it's one of those things that it could seem daunting if you overthink it, but it's a natural space. It's just like if me and you see each other when we go to church. It's a hey, you know what I mean? It's the same element. So just as I say, just be intentional. Um, any way, any form of fashion. Just say hi, make yourself known. And if you're not sure, ask them their name. And then what you do is when you see them again, you try to, call them by their name and maybe just ask them one thing about them. You don't have to get into their full family detail.
And then one final question. Given the size of your team, how do you like, how I can say, naturally that's a lot of persons, I want to imagine a lot of names and everything else. How do you find yourself managing that dynamic or just keeping a context of each person and individual?
Great question. I'll tell you that what I've done is taken some time. That's the next thing. It isn't something that happens overnight. Only one thing that I mainly ask each one of them is what is it that they would like to do if they could have snapped their fingers right now and be in the job that they would want to be in. And I have them grouped. I know that sounds strange. I just have them grouped in that fashion, right? Because I know that's something that they're very, very particular or they're very passionate about. But it's done over a period of time. Every time I walk the floor, separate from when I do my first walk, I'm always walking. So I'm taking the time to just stop and say, hey, and I'll be honest with you, Kenny. I'll be totally honest. Sometimes someone will make a comment and I'm totally lost. Totally lost. Kenny, I'm going to be very genuine with you. I tell you the truth. When they talk to me, I act as if I know exactly what they're talking about. And by the time I walk away, it has hit me that this is what they're meaning. And then two, what I've been able to do is in an unofficial manner, I created what I call an angel system, because one thing that I found out is that line staff, that a lot of them do not connect well when it comes to certain information with authority. They feel intimidated. So when persons are going through a certain challenge, I have my angel system. They would bring it back to me. They wouldn't call exact names because they want to still be confidential, but they'll tell me that certain person is going through a certain thing, and if there's, we find ways to see if we could help. But no, it's over time, and most of the persons that I have that type of communication with, they've been there for a year or more. So I try to always take one day to learn something new about, not new, but to try to learn something about 5 persons. So within, it takes me, I do that, and as I say, I do that on a daily basis, but it's shown to be very rewarding. But yeah, so that's how it is.
All right, Kenny, thank you for your questions. Kenny, you've reached your questions limit. I think Sam wanted to ask a question.
I know it's okay. I was just thinking out loud, really. Fine, thanks.
Okay, Sam. Well, you can come off camera and introduce yourself. I think this is your first time being a part of our meetup.
Yeah, sure, it is. I think you can see me. I'm on my mobile phone right now. I've been on mute and off camera because I'm looking after my 2-year-old at the moment, but luckily she's eating, so she's quiet.
Okay, so which part of the world are you joining us from?
Oh yeah, I'm in Brisbane, Australia, and I'm an Agile coach working for a government organisation. So there are a lot of challenges around teams and getting them to connect with each other and find the time for that, because there's generally a lot of emphasis around we've got so much to do and not enough time. So my daughter's all done. Okay.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for that, Sam. And it's great to have you here joining us for the first time. And we hope that you will join us again next time. We have our meetups every last Thursday of the month, and we'll post our next meetup very soon. So thank you for being here with us. We appreciate you taking the time. And all the way in Australia, it's Friday. I know it's Friday. You're in the future.
That's right, yeah. Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, so thank you so much. And we want to thank our speaker before we leave the call this evening. So I'll share my screen now. And Philip, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, let me share my screen. And by the way, everyone, Philip is a part of our BAPMC team. And he has returned to help us out since he's now finished with his master's degree. And we were supposed to celebrate you and your completion of your master's degree, Philip. So congratulations on that.
Thank you very much.
And the speaker certificate is on the screen.
Okay, sorry I can't come on camera right now because of where I am right now, yeah. But this is our certificate to K'Ron. So on behalf of BAPMC, would like to appreciate you for taking your time to come be with us and give us some insightful lectures on how to build trust and empowerment and results in a team. So this is our certificate to recognize you for being our speaker for today's for this month's event, and this is going to be shared on all our platforms. Is also a platform that we also welcome you to our team, and we expect you to also be part of us, and we expect to hear back from you and get more insights from all the deep level of skills and experiences that you've had over the years. So this is a way of BAPMC saying thank you for being part of us and being a member and teaching us the right things to do on how to be a better communicator and a better team member. So thank you for being part of us, and thank you for taking your time to be part of our team for tonight.
Thank you so much, Philip. And Philip, can you tell everyone where you're joining us from tonight?
I'm joining from, I'm currently in Germany right now. Yeah.
Yeah, so we are all over the world, and like our mission says and our vision, we are a homegrown community of practice that was developed in the Bahamas, but we have a global reach. So I know our numbers were small tonight, but I always firmly believe that who is supposed to be here is definitely here, and we will share the recording on our YouTube channel. So I want to say thank you so much to everyone who stayed to the end. I know some persons dropped off the call. We did not take our photo, but I did take a snapshot earlier that I'll share. And I want to just tell you all how much I greatly appreciate this session. K'Ron, you were one of the few Bahamian speakers that we've had spoken to our community of practice. We need to really increase that number a lot. So thank you for taking the time out to be with us and sharing knowledge with us. And as always, I appreciate everyone on the team and all of those who have joined us. I did drop the link for the SEU, the Scrum Education Units, in the chat, and the PDUs are self-reported. So I thank you all for being here. I ask you to continue to follow us on our social media platforms, and we look forward to seeing you next month, where we will be shortly informing you about our next session and that speaker. Thank you so much, you all, and have a good night.
Thank you.
Great meeting. Good night.
Thanks very much.